Hello everybody, this is Mr. Rob and welcome back to another episode of the South Carolina Gamecocks Dynasty here on EA Sports College Football 25, and today we are going to recap year number 7 of the Dynasty, the 2030 NCAA FBS season, and kind of see what happened with the team, as well as highlight what to look for in the coming season. So if you're excited for this one, make sure you drop a like and you subscribe down below, especially if you want more Dynasty Mode content. And I did say next season because we will be going through one more season in the South Carolina Gamecocks Dynasty. We'll do 8 years. This is going to be a boom or bust season. We have been given one more year to try to bring a national championship to the program. And with that said, because we returned, we did fire our coordinators, and I have hired new coordinators on the roster. We will show you guys those probably in the off-season episode, so I don't want to get too much into that. But in case you did miss it, we did live stream the national championship. If you did not watch it, I highly recommend going to watch it. It was a great national championship that was won by the Oregon Ducks. As here's a look at the final bracket. Oregon won 30-27 over the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Western Kentucky led most of the game, but a fumble on the goal line by the Hilltoppers quarterback caused Oregon to swing the momentum in their favor, and they are the 2030 national champions for the first time in 5 seasons. The Ducks can call themselves the champions, which means another season is upon us. We obviously did not come close. We finished 6-6 this year. This is how our season started. It was a tale of 2 seasons. We won our FCS game first. It was Furman 38-6. Then we beat East Carolina 42-34 in a game that the score was a lot closer than it should have been. East Carolina was getting some onside kicks at the end. Then we beat NC State, which is a good team, 48-45, and to come from behind to win that game. So we were 3-0 going into the bye, going into SEC play, where we beat Kentucky by 1 point. And then we went to Tennessee and won 34-24. When I thought was our first true test of the season, we passed. We were 5-0. Everything was looking good. But we were in the middle of a tough road stretch, and we went to the national champions from last year's house, Auburn, and lost 31-14. On game day, I mean, they were the national champions the previous year, so I'm like, okay, we lost that one. And then we lost to Arkansas, 38-31. Arkansas was a good team at the time, but, they kind of fell off, so the loss doesn't look as good as it used to. And then we had to return home to face the number 1 team at the time, Georgia Bulldogs, and lost that one 34-17. So we lost 3 straight going to the bye week, and I mean, it was like, okay, these are 3 tough losses. These are 3 good teams, but we got to bounce back. And Florida was a top 10 team when we faced them, and we won 29-17. A good bounce back victory. 6-3, everything seemed okay, and then everything was not okay. We lost to the Mississippi State Bulldogs 31-21 at home. We lost to the Texas Longhorns 38-14 at home, got blown out, and then lost in Clemson 24-13, a 3-game losing streak to end. We started 5-0, we finished 6-6. We didn't even get invited to a bowl game this year. That's how bad we were. And now we have to try to pick up the pieces for one more season. In terms of conference standings, here's how they look. The ACC was a bad conference this year. Not a lot of good teams there. Miami was the best team here, but Pitt and NC State topped that conference. In the American, it was Charlotte, who actually made the college football playoff. Big 12, Iowa State was the top team this year. There's still some talent. TCU was good. Baylor was okay. Big 10 still the best conference in football. They got another national championship to their name. Oregon won that conference. Penn State was right up there as well. Rutgers in the playoffs. So was Washington. A lot of teams got represented in that conference. Western Kentucky in the Conference USA. It'll be interesting to see what happens with them in the offseason. Is a conference, a Power 4, looked at Western Kentucky's success recently and want to scoot them up? And also, are they going to want to move conferences? I mean, the ACC, which would make sense for Western Kentucky, doesn't look as appealing anymore because they just got a first-round bye as the Conference USA champions. So maybe they stay put in their conference. Only a couple of independents. Notre Dame, again, lost in the first round. We'll see if that sways their opinion because they would have had the bye, but they can't because they're an independent. The MAC team was Bowling Green this year. Mountain West was won by New Mexico. They ended up beating Nevada in the championship. Fresno State won the Pac-12. SEC, Oklahoma, LSU, Georgia, Florida. This was a pretty good conference this year. Sun Belt was Appalachian State, and that ends those. So we'll take a look at stats now and kind of talk about what's upcoming for this team going into the new year. We'll start with the quarterback position. Shaquille Brock, 3,100 yards, 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. It was a step back for Shaquille Brock this year. I mean, he had a great freshman season. He set the record for most passing touchdowns in a season. And then this year, he just only threw for 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Now, a lot of that, in my opinion, is not his fault. We lost, a lot of playmakers last offseason. Wade Mann went pro early. We lost a couple of receivers as well, in Martino and Saban to graduation. And we didn't really have a true playmaker this year, and it really hurt Brock. I'm expecting big things for him as a junior. But you can see in the top right corner, that deal breaker sign might play a factor. So does Shaquille Brock leave in the offseason? That would be a huge blow to this team if that were to happen. If he does, there's Athia Kilgo, who I like coming out of high school. There's Matt Willies as well. But hopefully Shaquille Brock returns, because if he doesn't, we might be in even bigger trouble next year. The run game was disappointing this year. We were not a good running team, and that's been our staple of our offense these past, basically the entire series. Keenan Tody led the way with 561 yards, but he only had 3.7 average. 6 touchdowns, a little misleading. He had 4 in the Eastern Carolina game. Sonny Dora was supposed to be the top halfback, but he got hurt in the Furman game and missed a lot of time. He rushed for 399, 4.6 average. He was the best halfback, but we would like to have a playmaker here. If there's somebody in the portal at halfback that we can go grab, we need to be aggressive and try to go grab them. Brock also added 4 touchdowns on the ground, and then Braden Goodman as well had 2. But overall, the running game was disappointing this year. Receiving game, Juan Gallegos led the way, the sophomore from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 59 catches, 725 yards, 4 touchdowns, only 12.3 average per catch. We didn't have anybody really explosive this year. I thought Gallegos was good, but he can't do it all. We need somebody else to kind of offset Gallegos, and we didn't really have that. Danny Cribbs was a pretty good tight end. 63 catches was the most, 601 yards, 5 touchdowns. We finally got good play out of the tight end position. I do like Danny Cribbs a lot. Hopefully he returns next year, because apparently he's some thoughts of him leaving as well. Frank McCord had 541 yards, 2 touchdowns, but overall I thought McCord was kind of disappointing this year. He was horrible blocking on the outside, and we throw a lot of swing screens, and we need some guys who can block out there, and McCord didn't do that. So I need him to step up as a senior. Vernon Ryder got back into the lineup. I was kind of hoping that he would replicate what he did as a freshman and a sophomore, and he did not. He only had 384 yards, 2 touchdowns, only 27 catches. We just missed that true playmaker at wide receiver, somebody who can get behind the defense, can make the tough grab. We are recruiting a lot of wide receivers this year, so hopefully we can change that a little bit. Todia had no receiving touchdowns as well. Derek Beck I liked a lot. 276 yards, 2 touchdowns for the true freshman from Indian Trail, North Carolina. Hopefully he grows his role next year if he returns, apparently. But I did like Beck a lot. Sonny Dora had 2 receiving touchdowns. Proctor was the backup tight end. I wasn't really overly impressed with him. Ben Shaw got a couple of snaps. I do like him. Him and Deacon Hadralahu as redshirt freshmen next year. I want to see them take that next step and be those playmakers that we need, because I do like those 2 players a lot. And then Braden Goodman had a receiving touchdown. Offensive line, I was really disappointed in the offensive line this year. This was supposed to be our strength. We had studs up and down the offensive line. They just were not good at creating holes and giving space for Brock. Ari Big Hill, the senior, the captain, the left tackle, struggled. 9 sacks allowed. He will not return next year. He's a senior. Ahmed Jacobson was the one non-returner from the line last year, and he struggled a little bit. He was okay in the passing game, but in the run game, he struggled. He had a hard time holding and creating lanes. So, hopefully he steps up as a sophomore next year. At center, we had Shaquem Cruz play there a lot. Hopefully he returns. He's a junior. He's an impact guy. He could transfer. He could go to the draft, but I do like him a lot. He just also kind of struggled in the passing game. Keelan Rogombo is another center. We kind of swung him out to right tackle for a lot of the year. I thought he did okay. But again, as a run blocker, he kind of struggled at certain points of the season. And then at right guard, we had Kevin Fine, who will be graduating this year. So a lot of change happening to the offensive line this year that was supposed to be a strength. That can be kind of scary. On the defensive side, we'll start in the trenches. Where sacks, we had 2 guys reach double-digit sacks. Caleb Cottrell had 10.5. But overall, he kind of not had the best season. I expected more out of Cottrell. He got off to a hot start. He ended strong against Clemson, but the middle of the season in the SEC play, he disappeared for a lot of games. And, hopefully he returns next year as a senior. He could go pro. I expect Cottrell back, though. And just hopefully will rack up more sacks. I was more impressed with Andy Everett this year. He had 10 sacks in his first full year to really step up, and he flourished in my opinion. Had more tackles as well, more TFLs than Cottrell. So hopefully those 2 will be great pass rushers next year. In the middle, I was a little disappointed. Angel Casey had 7 sacks, but, he got bodied a lot in the running game. We had a lot of games where we were getting bulldozed up the middle, and I expected more out of Angel Casey. He will also be a senior next year, so hopefully we do get a lot of these guys to return. The one guy we don't get to return, though, is Greg Bodden, who might have been my favorite defensive lineman this year, outside of Andy Everett. He's not going to light up the stat sheets, 5.5 sacks, but he demands a lot of blocks, and I think with the coordinator we have coming in, I think he would have really flourished next year, but he's going to be graduating, so we'll say goodbye to Greg Bodden. As far as the linebackers go, the top tackler was Torrey Perkins with 101 tackles. He will be graduating. We are going to miss him this next year. He had 3 interceptions as well. I think he was a lot better as a senior than he was as a junior. He just didn't really have any help in the linebacker core. There's John Telfort, who should take over for him next year, the Columbia native. I do like him a lot. Troy Haslam I thought was good, but I think next year he'll probably play closer to the line of scrimmage. And then the other linebacker guy was Maurice Bone, who was not good at all, and that was probably because of my faults. We had him playing a lot of off-ball linebacker when that's not his game. So I feel bad for Maurice Bone. We didn't really maximize his skill set, but that's also a coaching thing. Sometimes that happens. In the secondary, we were okay. I was a little worried about our secondary, and they didn't play the best down the stretch. But they looked good in the Clemson game, I will say. Miles Filipovic had 5 interceptions. He was a true ball hawk. We were also young in the secondary outside of James Eskridge, who will graduate. Eskridge, I have a lot of respect for him. He wasn't the best corner, but remember, he wasn't actually a corner. He was a safety that we had to turn into a corner before his junior year because we graduated 4 of them. So he stepped up to the plate. He had 4 interceptions this year. I respect Eskridge a lot. He was really a team player at the end of the day. Chauncey Parkey also had 3 interceptions as a safety. He will be graduating, so that's another guy we're going to have to replace. Muhammad Hod, his first year as a starter, was all right. He gave up a couple of deep plays as a freshman, but at least he should, step up more as a sophomore. He's got some more experience. Raheem Labor also had a interception. He'll probably be the starting safety now that Parkey's graduating. Eric Merrick will also got an interception. He will probably be the new nickel corner, the Colorado transfer. And also a corner that did not have any interceptions was Jaleel Griggs, the 5-star from Tampa, Florida. A little shaky as a freshman and as a sophomore too. Hopefully he kind of starts to find his footing. He is more of a man corner. We play a lot of zone, and I'm looking to swap that up a little bit next year. So if he sticks around, I expect Griggs to actually have a big season. Kicking at 76% from Matogwe, he will have to be replaced. A lot of those aren't really his fault. We were just outside of his range. But I did like him overall despite the bad field goal percentage. And then this year, we didn't have a single return touchdown, which is, we usually have a few of those. So that also does not help. As terms of the rest of the country, we'll start in the SEC. In terms of your top passer was Eric Blunt, the Summerville High School native in Tennessee with 3,900 yards. Jimmy Boone of LSU there. Slade Luck of Oklahoma. Marquez Tompkins. Most touchdowns, 45 for Henry Eckenham of Georgia. He'll be graduating. He might be a first-round pick. Slade Luck played really good as well. Interceptions was 14 with Jimmy Boone. I will highlight, though, we had single-digit interceptions this year. That's pretty impressive, I will say, for my style of play. So I will take that where I can get it. Rushing-wise, it's not a Gamecock this year. It's Taylor Runyon with 951. Nobody actually had 1,000 yards running on the ground. Touchdowns was Marco Kegler of Auburn with 13. Shakir Condren had 12. He probably would have had more if he didn't get hurt. And then Joel Preston of Ole Miss had 10. I always say the SEC is a really good halfback conference, and there are a lot of good halfbacks here at the top who should be playing on Sundays next year. Receiving game, it was Marquise Howden of Alabama with 1,200 yards, 19 touchdowns, a great season for the sophomore. Sean Gideon also had over 1,000. There's a lot of guys with 1,000 up here. Receptions was Gideon with 95. Your touchdowns was Howden with 19. Blocking, some struggle buses up here at the top. Tackles was Jawan Lacan. He had 108, the most in the conference. Sacks-wise, 19 for Corbin Martino of Georgia. Eric Lozano also had 17 of Ole Miss. And then a couple guys with 5 interceptions. Tyler Kopp of Missouri. Emmett Ellington of Florida. Miguel Cabrera of Oklahoma. DeJounte Kafka at Texas A&M. And then, of course, Miles Filipovic of the Gamecocks. And then Stephen Flowers of Vanderbilt. We'll go around the country now and see who was the most in these categories. Your top passer was Nick Tobias of Miami. It'll be interesting to see if he returns next year to the Hurricanes. If he does, they might be a national championship favorite again. Other guys with 4,000 yards are Quincy Miranda of Charlotte, leading them to the playoff. A native of North Charleston, by the way. And then Denzel Addison of Bowling Green. 55 touchdowns leads the way for Tobias as well. The only quarterback to eclipse 50. Most interceptions was 24 was Jose Trapuca of North Texas, which, remember, the Mean Green had a very unfortunate scenario this year. There should have been one of the top teams in their conference. They made the playoff 2 years ago, but they missed their whole quarterback for the season. So Trapuca had to step up, and he struggled. Eric Emanuel also had 21 interceptions on a one-win Louisville squad. As far as rushing, your rushing leader with 1,170 yards was Trent Canty of Tulane. A couple of other 1,000-yard runners, Raphael Manning of South Alabama, Talia Tatu of New Mexico, Noah Melvin of Texas State, Gage Cossier of Charlotte, Deion Clements of Middle Tennessee, Pete Braverman of Pittsburgh, and then Jackie Ferris of Ohio State. Touchdowns with 13 was Marco Kegler of Auburn and Mike Mangold of Michigan. Receiving game, receptions leader with 95 was Sean Gideon. The only other guy to eclipse 90 was Juan Jamerson, who had a lot more games played, by the way. Receiving yards was Seth Gostowski of Baylor with 1293, followed by Stephen Watt of Hawaii. And then touchdown leader with 23 was Jeff Shaver of Iowa State, the only guy to eclipse over 20. Worst blocker was Richard Coffey of Florida Atlantic. That is very tough. Tackles leader with 114, Alfonso Rahman of San Diego State. Sack leader with 12 was Brian Donahue, even though I don't think that's necessarily accurate. And then interceptions was Matt Cantrell of Western Kentucky. We didn't call him in the national championship because he was locking up some of the receivers out there in Oregon. So he led the way with 11, which is also a school record. So that'll do it for this episode. I don't think I have anything else I really want to cover in this one. As the next one, we will have the off season. I cannot wait to get that to you guys in the next one. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. The off season will be live streamed this Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you don't want to miss that one. But thank you guys so much again. If you enjoyed, make sure you drop that like and you subscribe down below, especially if you want more Dynasty Mode content. This is Mr. Rob, and I'll see you in the next one.